very first show of 2022. I'm hoping you've had a great year so far. It's barely January 7th, 2022. It is Friday night, and we got a lot of things to talk about in terms of wrestling because we got a lot of things to look forward to for this year of 2022. And let's not get past the fact that on day one of 2022, we basically got headlines from WWE. First of all, they had their pay-per-view, day one, the actual pay-per-view name that they gave this special event. Due to unfortunate circumstances with the pandemic, it was reported, and WWE themselves announced that Universal Champion Roman Reigns would be unable to compete at the pay-per-view in his scheduled match against Brock Lesnar because he had been diagnosed with COVID-19. Diagnosis that has since passed, and now he is cleared for tonight's edition of Friday Night SmackDown, where he will be confronted by the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar. But the thing is, it won't be a normal encounter. It won't be just the challenger versus the champion, in this case Roman Reigns. No, because at day one, since Brock Lesnar did not get his Universal Championship match, well, WWE decided to place him in the already crowded WWE title match and make it a fatal five-way. And Brock Lesnar bested Seth Rollins, he bested Kevin Owens, he bested Bobby Lashley, and he bested and pinned WWE Champion Big E to become, once again, WWE Champion. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are back to square one. Now, 2 weeks ago, I talked about how I'm loving this character turn for Brock Lesnar. I'm loving this side of the beast. He is entertaining. It looks like he's having the time of his life. It looks like he's having fun, which is a nice change of pace from the previous version of Brock Lesnar, where he was just a mercenary here to beat down guys, take titles, and go home and only show up for the big time matches, big time shows. So that was a nice change of pace. But unfortunately, WWE now has another part-timer as WWE Champion. And whereas, there are reports saying that the plans for Wrestlemania are still that Brock Lesnar is going to face Roman Reigns for the title and the grandest stage of them all. Once again, that's still the plan according to reports on wrestling news websites. They're still trying to get to that place. And a lot of fans right now are speculating over the fact that it might be a title unification match. It might be WWE Champion Brock Lesnar facing off against WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, title versus title in the main event in Dallas, Texas, where WWE is once again trying to have over 100,000 plus fans, not just for one night, but for both nights of WrestleMania in Dallas, Texas. That's the plan. Now, if you ask me, do I think that they're going to unify the titles at WrestleMania? No. No, I firmly believe that Brock Lesnar is going to end up dropping the WWE Championship sometime between now and April. To whom? I don't know. And frankly, I've been talking about this for months and months, possibly even years. We're finally getting Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley one-on-one in a major pay-per-view event, and that's exciting as hell. It is. That's what everyone's been wanting, especially this version of Bobby Lashley, the Almighty. They have really done a splendid job of protecting the man formerly known as the Destroyer. Because now Bobby Lashley is someone who can present a real threat, a real credible threat to Brock Lesnar in a match. Even then, I don't think Bobby Lashley is going to defeat Brock Lesnar clean at the Royal Rumble. I think Bobby Lashley will beat Brock Lesnar for the title. I think that's where Lesnar drops it. I've said it before. Brock Lesnar does not need a championship to be presented as a main event or as a household name. He does not need that. So him losing to Bobby Lashley does not affect him or does not hurt Brock Lesnar. As a matter of fact, it helps Bobby Lashley get to that next level where WWE needs him to be. But I think the Bloodline and Roman Reigns are going to cost Brock Lesnar the title and the match at the Royal Rumble, and that's going to lead to the main event of WrestleMania Night 2, where Roman Reigns will defend the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar. I think that's the plan that they're going to take. I think that's the most logical plan because, like I said, I don't think they're going to unify the titles. I don't think that's necessary. They have way too much talent on both shows for them to only have one world champion. It doesn't make sense. It might have worked in the past. It doesn't work right now. At least not for me. At least that's not how you're going to build new stars, by just having one champion all the time. And you have guys like Kevin Owens, who hasn't been a world champion in almost over 5 years. You have guys like Seth Rollins, who I thought, and I firmly believe, if the match hadn't been postponed between Reigns and Lesnar, I firmly believe Rollins was going to win the WWE Championship. So for all you fans out there saying that Big E deserved better, I think at the end of the day, Big E was going to lose the title at day one, no matter the circumstances. Because that's what his character needs. His character needs a startup. He needs something to motivate him, and he needs to chase someone on the road to WrestleMania. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, those are my thoughts on back to square one with another part-timer as the world champion. I love Brock Lesnar. This character, this version of Brock, love it. But we'll see where that takes it. Leave your thoughts and comments on the predictions below. Do you agree with me on the fact that Brock Lesnar is champion again? Do you think they're going to unify the titles at WrestleMania? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And we can't really talk about the Royal Rumble without talking about the Royal Rumble match. We can't really get into that and not talk about the road to WrestleMania, the biggest pay-per-view event of the year. And I have a few front-runners as well as dark horses to win each match. I'm talking about both of the Royal Rumble matches here. I'm talking about the men's match and the women's match. So let's get into the women's match first. I got my first 5 front-runners and my dark horse to win it all for the women's, side of things. And I have my list here on the side, so excuse me if I turn a little bit. But you've got women's champion Becky Lynch, who I think is going to hold the title until at least WrestleMania, so she's going to be one of the champions that this winner will have a shot at. And then you have Charlotte Flair on the other side of SmackDown. And when you look at the SmackDown side of things, in terms of the women's roster, there's not many options for them to take the title off of Charlotte Flair right now. So, my number one pick is, and I'm hoping this happens because it would make me so damn happy to see her back on a WWE ring. She really got shortchanged because she got injured at the highest point of her career up until now. And of course, I'm talking about the former hugger, Bayley. Ding dong, she's back and she wins the Royal Rumble match. And if you ask me, I think if Bayley comes back and she wins that match, I think her first opponent or her first choice for the women's title match should be against Becky Lynch. Should be trying to beat the man, because if Bayley returns, she's gonna do it as a babyface. The fans are gonna cheer that like you've never seen it before. And we've already seen Bayley versus Charlotte Flair. I don't want to see that at WrestleMania again. I don't. I'd much rather see Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. If you want 2 big names at WrestleMania for the title, I'd rather see that. But nonetheless, I digress. So my number 1 front runner is Bayley. Now my number 2 choice is another one who's returning, and as a matter of fact, she's returning this upcoming Monday night on Raw. I'm talking about Little Miss Bliss, Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has quite a fan base. And she had quite a character turn last year with The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. But if you ask me, that runs over. And if she returns, she has to do it in a new and improved manner. Which means maybe not back to being Little Miss Bliss or that 5 Feet of Fury that she once was. But again, don't come back as the Fiend knockoff that you were. Because that really got stale and boring and silly at the end of it. But again, Alexa Bliss, if she returns, she'll be a babyface. Fans will cheer her. Now, my number 3 option is someone who I think is a complete badass of a woman. And she's been handicapped currently in WWE because she's been placed in a tag team, forcibly placed in a tag team, just to keep the storylines rolling. And I call that a placeholder, which isn't the best place to be. Just like in day 1, you had a placeholder feud for Drew McIntyre against Madcap Moss. Well, we're talking about Rhea Ripley, who was the runner-up at last year's Women's Royal Rumble match. And I honestly don't see why she can't win this upcoming Women's Royal Rumble match and go for a rematch against Charlotte Flair, which is a great storyline to begin with because, again, she lost to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania in front of 0 Zip fans, but now it's a different stage. It's a Or she can manhandle the man and put big-time Bex out of her misery, and we can have a badass Raw Women's Champion Monday Night Raw leading into Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, which is a feud and a rivalry that everyone wants to see at this point. Number 4, let's bring up the Empress of Tomorrow. Let's bring her back. Number 4, she had an undefeated streak. She is one of the most entertaining acts, period, that WWE had during the pandemic era. Whether that was inside the ring or not, it didn't matter. Asuka brought it, and we appreciated it. So why not have her win the Royal Rumble match, a match that she has won in the past, and go on to challenge Becky Lynch, someone that I believe Asuka has never beaten for the title. And my last front runner for the Royal Rumble match, and I get it. I did this kind of backwards, whereas I should have gone 5-1. I went 1-5, but I'll modify that for my men's. But number 5 would be Sasha Banks, who unfortunately got injured at a live event currently, so I'm not sure how long she's going to be out. I'm not even sure if she's going to make it to the Royal Rumble match. But the boss is the kind of superstar that you want winning these types of matches. Enough said. And my dark horse. Now, one of the categories I had for my dark horse is that they could not be a part of the current Raw. Excuse me. They couldn't be a part of the Raw and SmackDown rosters. They had to be in developmental. They had to come out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere, like the RKO, and win this match. So one of the candidates I had 3 candidates on the women's side. I had, well, actually 4. I had Dakota Kai, who I think needs a complete reset of her character and of her career in NXT. There's no way they're going to make her NXT Women's Champion over there anytime soon, so why not have her come into WWE and make a splash? I mean, clearly, in the past, they had Toni Storm be a heel in NXT, then she made her debut on the WWE main roster and she was a babyface. So that doesn't really matter to the creative writers in WWE. So why not bring Dakota Kai in? But that's not my front runner. You have Io Shirai, badass wrestler, can go in the ring. She put on quite a hell of a matchup with either of the women's champions in WWE today. Looking forward to that if that were to happen. You got Mandy Rose, who has really improved, who has really upped her game, and for the most part, she would be unrecognizable to the main audience in WWE because she's been doing quite a lot of different things on NXT as of lately, and she's a current NXT Women's Champion, so she has that going for her. And come on, you're gonna tell me you don't want to see Toxic Attraction on the main roster? So we got that. But my front runner on the NXT side of things is someone who would strike complete fear into the eyes of Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch and whoever else might end up being women's champion at WrestleMania. I'm talking about, I might be mistaken if they don't call her that, but it's Big Mommy Cool, Raquel Gonzalez. I think that at the end of the day, if they have Raquel Gonzalez in NXT for way too long, and they don't have her beat Mandy Rose for the title and gain her title back, that ultimately hurts Raquel. So why not bring her back into the main roster? Well, not back. Bring her up to the main roster. And we can get things going. We could really refresh, especially this side of things on SmackDown. I mean, a lot of fans want to see Charlotte Flair get her ass kicked, and who better to kick her ass than Raquel Gonzalez? So those are my 5 frontrunners and my dark horse for the women's side of things. Now let's go to the men's side of things, and we're going to do this right. We're going to talk about the dark horse first, and we're going to go 5-1 in this side of things. Again, my dark horse has to be from NXT. I had 4 candidates. I had Walter, who in the past has been rumored he does not want to be in the main roster because he doesn't want to move to the U.S. That might have changed. That doesn't remove the fact that he is a force of nature in that ring. He's technical, he's brutal, and you just see him, and you know he means business. Now, that's, excuse me, that's from what we've seen on NXT. Now, you can't really trust that because of, Karrion Kross. We saw brilliant things out of Karrion Kross in NXT, and then they watered him down to the point where he's now gone from WWE, so that might change. We've got Pete Dunne, again, who is in the same camp as Walter, and he's pretty young. He could still stay in NXT for a few more years, or bring him up to the main roster and have him build up a series of matches and a repertoire of performances that earn him back to the top, this time in WWE. You got someone who recently lost his NXT championship this past Tuesday, Tommaso Champa. Now, if you've been watching any wrestling news, you know that a lot of the old guard of NXT has been released from WWE. So, Tommaso Ciampa is going to make his main roster debut sooner rather than later. It's either that or, knock on wood, he gets released, which I don't ever want to see that happen. But sooner, very soon, actually, we should expect to see Tommaso Ciampa on the main roster because he does not fit what NXT is at this point in time right now. Excuse me. And my main dark horse on the NXT side of things is the current and new NXT champion, Braun Breaker. Now, I'm not going to add anything else to that. I've already said everything I wanted to say about Braun Breaker in the past. They've already made him NXT champion. And I think if it's not him winning the Rumble match, then he's gonna debut right after WrestleMania. Either way, we're gonna see Braun Breaker on the main roster before we hit June in WWE. I firmly believe that he is at that level. Now let's get into the main frontrunners. Number 5. We've got someone who is being built up the old school style of things. He is the current United States champion. He's had some under the radar performances for WWE. And of course, I'm talking about Damien Priest, someone that WWE put on the map last year's WrestleMania when he tagged with Bad Bunny, and that just captured headlines. But I think they're building up Damien Priest right now, I'm sorry if you heard that, to the point that they have no choice but to make him a main eventer. Now, will that happen this year? Will that happen as soon as the Royal Rumble match? I don't think so. But I also think that Damien Priest will enter the Rumble match. He'll have a hell of a performance, which will put him over the top for WWE, and eventually down the line, during the summer, just like Big E, Damien Priest could be the next bona fide main eventer and world champion for the leader in sports entertainment. Now we'll see what happens. He's the current United States champion. That's been working for him right now. But again, WWE has a systemic problem right now with their mid-card champions. They don't really have anything for them to do. They don't have any meaningful feuds for either of them. For either Damien Priest or Shinsuke Nakamura. So WWE has to work on that. Number 4. Now, he's only this slow because I said it earlier in the show. I think he's going to dethrone Brock Lesnar as WWE champion at the Rumble pay-per-view. I think the Almighty has a chance at winning the Rumble match. No problem. I wouldn't be against the idea of having Lashley versus Reigns for the title at WrestleMania as one of the main events. I want to be against that. That's not what WWE wants. It seems like they're going more towards the route of having Big E chase Bobby Lashley on the road to WrestleMania. That's not too bad either. So right now I'm putting Bobby Lashley at number 4 because I think he's going to become WWE champion once again at the Rumble match. And right behind him is the current WWE champion, Brock Lesnar. Like I said, I think he has a better chance at winning the Rumble match because I think the Bloodline is going to cost him the title at the Rumble, and then Lesnar's going to win the Rumble, and he's going to target Reigns, and he has a surefire match against the Tribal Chief for the title. That's a sure way of getting your way for WWE. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the title for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Number 2. He might win it. If he wins this match, this might be the jump start that he needs to get back on track after losing the WWE Championship on day 1 of 2022. I'm talking about Big E. Now, Big E lost the title. He got pinned by Brock Lesnar, and on Monday Night Raw, he lost the number 1 contenders match. So now he has to watch as the Almighty is the one to challenge one-on-one against the Beast Incarnate for his WWE Championship. Which means you're telling fans that Big E does not get a rematch clause. He doesn't get an automatic rematch for the WWE title. Just like Kofi Kingston didn't over 2 years ago. Now you're telling fans that Big E lost the title, and then he lost his chance at regaining the championship, which means Big E is on a downward spiral. Are you telling that story? If you aren't telling that story, then what better way to get Big E over the hump? Get him serious. Get him to be the powerhouse that we know he can be, but unfortunately he's too charismatic and he's too entertaining to be that way right now. But if he wins the Royal Rumble match, that gets him focused, and that puts a target on the brand new WWE Champion, Bobby Lashley, on the road to WrestleMania. That's my pick. And number one, because like I said, WWE might be building up to Brock versus Reigns at WrestleMania for the main event. They might be building up. That might be what they want. That's not what I want. And there's a story playing out on SmackDown that Roman Reigns is dodging Drew McIntyre. And I get it. Drew McIntyre already won the Rumble 2 years ago. Why not do it again? He got injured. He gets a hell of a reaction. And SmackDown, much like on the women's side of things, they don't really have a lot of male superstars to pit against Roman Reigns at this point that really become a threat to the tribal chief. And that's Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre is the number one front runner to win the Rumble match. That might change. Again, he got injured at day one. He might not be a part of the Rumble match or WrestleMania plans. Again, knock on wood, because he's a fantastic superstar who deserves to be in the main event. We'll see what happens. But again, those are my predictions, my front runners, my rankings on who I think are going to win the Rumble matches. And I'm saying this right now. It's January 7th, 2022. We are about over 3 weeks away from the Rumble match. We are months away from WrestleMania. So I'm doing this before they build anybody up as a clear candidate to win the match itself. But what do you think? Leave your list on the comment section below. Who do you think is going to win each Royal Rumble match? Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree with my picks? Leave your thoughts on the comment section below. And it's time to get into, 2020 WWE release stars. No, they had the pandemic. 2021, WWE keeps releasing stars. Okay, you have too much talent. Good. I mean, it's a business. They have to run it like a business. But we are 7 days into 2022, and they have released superstars yet again in 2022. Not only that, it seems like NXT or WWE is trying to get rid of anything and everything that was a part of the old black and yellow NXT. They really are trying to show commitment to this brand new NXT 2.0. And it got to the point where it has been reported that amongst a lot of other releases, they have released one of the most knowledgeable, one of the most well-respected, and one of the best employees, men, wrestler, coach, mentor, anything you want to call them. They have released former NXT General Manager William Regal. They have let him go from WWE. First of all I want to say about this is thank you, William Regal. I know as in terms of booking, it wasn't really up to you how you booked the show or how the show was booked rather in NXT, but you created memorable moments and you were an imposing authority figure without being big and bulky and without lifting your voice. Your character on TV demanded respect just by showing up. And that's something that fans all over the world appreciate. So you being released from WWE, it sucks. It really sucks. And it's really going to take away from NXT at this point. But again, WWE is trying to veer NXT into a new direction, completely removing anything from the past, and unfortunately that includes William Regal. So again, Mr. Regal, Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for all the segments that you produced in NXT. And through WWE, you just released one of the best and one of the most loyal men you had on your roster. And if you don't pick him up right away, which they have done in the past, example Zelina Vega, who is now the queen of WWE, but if you don't pick him up to be an agent or backstage producer, or hell, please make him an authority figure of one of the two shows, then AEW is lurking right behind you. They are looking to bring him into AEW pretty damn soon, and if they do, it's a great get for them. So that's one of the many releases. And let's talk about something I wanted to talk about a week ago, but unfortunately work got in the way. But apparently Toni Storm asked for her release and was granted her release from WWE. Now this is one of the most talented female superstars in WWE. They were starting to build her up. They were starting to build her into a contender. They were starting to give her momentum in WWE. It's true, she lost to Charlotte Flair, I think, twice. One of them being a championship match. And she did get humiliated, but then she got payback against Charlotte Flair in that whole pie-eating segment and whatever. But apparently, there were reports that Toni Storm got burnt out and that she asked for her release from WWE. Now, if that was her choice, if that was her state of mind, I wish Toni Storm nothing but the best. I mean, if you're burnt out and if you don't want to be there anymore, then the most logical thing to do is to just leave. And Toni Storm could not ask for time off. She was not at that point. She was not at the point of Sasha Banks asking time off, and WWE granted it because Sasha Banks is a proven commodity, and she came back and she proved it. Toni Storm was just starting. So this was her only choice. Either keep going on the road, not wanting to be there apparently, or ask for a release, which could have gone one of two ways. It went the first way, which was it got granted, and now she's a free agent and can't work for another company until March or April of this year. Or it could have been WWE saying, no, we don't want to release you. If you don't want to be on the road and if you don't want to be a part of this program, then we'll just write you off TV. We're going to freeze you so AEW doesn't pick you up, and, we're just going to quote-unquote blacklist you because we're trying to give you a chance and you're asking for your release. So that could have been a really bad outcome for I believe she's from New Zealand, for her career. But again, if she's burnt out, that's what you should do. You don't want to stay where you don't want to stay. It's not healthy for you. It's not physically healthy. It's not physically healthy. It's not physically healthy. Or mentally healthy. So kudos for her to that, and hopefully she can get past that. She's recently got engaged to Impact Wrestling star and New Japan Pro Wrestling star Juice Robinson, so she has that to look forward to. But again, hopefully we see Toni Storm on a company very, very soon because she is that damn talented. So, anyway, what do you think? Were you expecting more releases from WWE? Are you at all surprised by the fact that WWE is once again removing all these stars from the old black and yellow NXT and they're just turning it into NXT 2.0? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And it's time to close out today's broadcast. Because on January 8th, tomorrow night, in Dallas, Texas, we're going to have ourselves another pay-per-view event. A pay-per-view event to look forward to. A great night of wrestling for my second favorite wrestling company out there, and that is Impact Wrestling. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, above AEW. I've been a fan of Impact since 2009, and it's time to get into the preview and the predictions of of Hard to Kill. Sorry. Okay, excuse me. Sorry. But first of all, let's talk about the Ring of Honor World Championship being defended on an Impact Wrestling pay-per-view. Historic. And set to be a fantastic matchup. Technical masterpiece. And, excuse me. If you ask me, Jonathan Gresham retains the title. No doubt. I don't think Chris Sabin is poised to be the new Ring of Honor World Champion. Jonathan Gresham retains. We've got the X Division Championship match. Singles bout. Steve Macklin versus Trey Mcgill. Now, they just made Trey Mcgill the X Division Champion at Bound for Glory. Do I really think that they're going to have him drop the title? No, that's not how Impact operates. As a matter of fact, Steve Macklin was a part of the triple threat match at Bound for Glory, and he lost that match. So I think Trey retains, no doubt. We got a tag team match for the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The Inspiration versus the Influence. Quite a matchup. It could go either way, but I'm betting on the Inspiration retaining their titles. They just made their debut. They just won the titles. They want to protect their name value and their star power, and the only way to do that is by having them retain. We've got a 10-man hardcore war, which is going to cause headlines, and I'm hoping, please, Impact Wrestling do not bring Tommy Dreamer into this match. Tommy Dreamer is a veteran that no longer serves his purpose in Impact Wrestling. Sure, he's someone that you can plug into any match because he's there and he has experience and he's a big name. But I don't know if a lot of Impact Wrestling fans out there agree with me, but I'm kind of sick and tired of seeing Tommy Dreamer in Impact Wrestling. But in the meantime, it's going to be Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Heath, and Rhino facing off against the Good Brothers and Violent by Design. And I think the heels have to win. The Good Brothers, they're the current tag team champions. And Violent by Design, they have to impose themselves once again. You can't start the story off by having the bad guys lose. You have to build them up a little bit, and then the good guys overcome it. So the hardcore war goes to them. We have a singles match. Again, I said it earlier in the broadcast. Placeholder feud. But as far as placeholder feuds go, this is pretty damn good because former Impact World Champion Josh Alexander is facing off against the man formerly known as Bronson Reed, Jonah, who made quite his debut at Turning Point a few months ago. And they have done a really good job of building this bad blood between these two men. And this is going to be a slobber knocker of a fight. But ultimately, Josh Alexander has to win. Which is tough because you don't want to make Jonah look weak. But Josh Alexander was the world champion, and he still would be the world champion if he wasn't attacked right after the match. Right after the main event of Bound for Glory. So again, the match could go either way. I don't think there's a wrong way to go in this bout. But if it were up to me, if I were booking the show, Josh Alexander will win this match. And then at Rebellion, we'd get the rematch. So I just kind of gave it away right now. Again, I'm trying to get better at this. Bear with me. We've got the historic Knockouts Ultimate X match, where the winner will become and get a future Knockouts Championship match. 6 women involved in this. Chelsea Green, Digital Media Champion Jordan Grace, Lady Frost, Rachel Ellering, Rosemary, and Tasha Steelz. I said in the past, I'll say it again. This is what Impact Wrestling should be trying to do. Innovate the women's division in their own division. Don't try to make it intergender, because that is just silly to me. But as far as this match goes, I think the winner is Chelsea Green. I think Chelsea Green ends up winning this match. She's a former Knockouts champion, and she gets the challenge the woman who comes out of the main event of this pay-per-view as champion. So let's talk about the match that is not going to be the main event. I don't think this match is bigger than the Knockouts title match. And I'm talking about the three-way match for the Impact World Championship. Moose defends against Matt Cardona and W. Morrissey. I think this is a match that's going to go 10 to 15 minutes. I think this is a match that's going to serve its purpose. And I think this is a match that's going to give Moose a title defense. That's it. I pretty much give this match the same resemblance as in the past, I believe in 2018 or 2019, where Universal Champion Brock Lesnar defended his title in a three-way against Braun Strowman and I believe Kane. I think. I might not be remembering that correctly. But just like then, I don't think Moose has any chance of losing the title at Hard to Kill. So we're just going to build up to Rebellion, Moose versus Josh Alexander, the rematch, the actual one-on-one match between them for the world title. And then we got ourselves the actual main event. Of course it's going to be the main event. We're in Dallas, Texas. This is the most personal feud in Impact Wrestling nowadays. Mickie James defends her Impact Knockouts Championship against Deonna Perazzo. And if you ask me, the Virtuoso becomes a 3-time Knockouts champion. Now, a lot of you are hating on me right now. A lot of you are asking me, well, why put the title on Mickie James in the first place if you're not going to have her get a long title reign? Here's the thing with that. Mickie James is a fantastic wrestler. She's a legend, a Hall of Famer, or a bona fide future Hall of Famer for WWE and Impact Wrestling alike. But no mistake about it, she is a nostalgia act, first and foremost. She is. With all due respect to Mickie James. These two ladies killed it at Bound for Glory, and they're going to kill it tomorrow night at Hard to Kill, in front of a packed crowd in Dallas, Texas. But ultimately, the future of Impact's Knockouts division is Deonna Perazzo. And I think that needs to be the final statement that Impact Wrestling gives us at Hard to Kill this upcoming Saturday night. So with that said, those are my predictions for Hard to Kill 2022. I'm pretty sure all you Impact Wrestling fans out there have different predictions, a lot of different predictions than me. So go ahead and leave them in the comments section below. And just like that, the first broadcast of Wrestling Talk in 2022 is done. It's Friday night. Let's enjoy the weekend. Let's enjoy the confrontation coming up on SmackDown later on tonight. And I've been Alexis Carrillo. See you next time.